Hi, it's Bubba Rocks Media. I'm Cheryl Bubba Mann, and this is the Rising Band Show, my favorite. And I'm excited to find a band from Glasgow who are absolutely killing it right now. Please welcome 6 Year Silence. Welcome to this show. And if you guys could just start by firstly introducing yourselves, your name, and what you do in the band.
I'm Johnny Malice, and I am the singer of 6 Year Silence.
Hi, I'm Greig. I am guitarist for 6 Year Silence.
Hi, Iain here, and I play the drums in 6 Year Silence.
And I'm Gary Moore, and I attempt to play bass for 6 Year Silence.
Well, look, I'm so excited to do it. I have really been looking forward to this ever since I came across you guys. And I believe it was Resurrected that I heard first. And absolutely nailed it. Like, what a song. I'm always looking for things like that, you know, bands that stand out from the crowd, and you guys definitely do. So what I want, first of all, is the inspiration behind that song before we play it for folks to listen to. So what is the song about, really?
Right, I think it's meets up. So with most of our songs, especially something like Resurrected, it almost comes from like a mental health background. You know what I mean? Brought up in a wee teeny place in Glasgow. It's not really been the greatest of upbringing, I suppose. You know what I mean? And there's stuff going around, especially with everybody as well. So we try to have as much songs that relate to people, but songs like Resurrected, I feel we're just saying to people, we're also struggling. You know what I mean? But at the other end of it, you know, there's light, we can stand up, we're resurrected. You know what I mean? And if you read the lyrics, which there's a few people messages, can I see the lyrics? You know what I mean? So they can understand a bit more, or they can even cover it, like somebody asked, which is cool. And you know, they get it. You know what I mean? So Resurrected, like most of our songs, does come from a kind of mental health type background. And we try to put that across as much as possible. And our social media as well, especially TikTok, as Iain will tell you.
Yeah. It's an incredible song. And actually you mentioned there about other people who wanted to cover it. That's really cool, actually. What a good song. But here, we're going to play it now. Here it is, Resurrected. Now, you guys listening, you know what I mean. What a tune. Melody, everything incredible. And speaking of covers, is there a cover song that you guys would like to do one day? I love a good cover song if it's done.
Well, we just did a gig down in Newton Stewart, and with the Linkin Park tribute band that we always play with, the guy that kind of helps them do their tours always says that we should do Halo by Soil. So we did that. We played that because Johnny's voice is just quality for that. So we ended up playing that. So that was cool. But I don't really know any other ones that in my head that I know that I'd want to do.
We've actually done a couple of covers over the years. I think we've done Sound of Silence. We've done Burn It to the Ground with Nickelback as well.
Oh, sorry,
And in the studio, we've actually jammed some tunes like Creed and Godsmack and stuff like that, which is cool. Actually, we also jammed an Anastasia song as well.
We did.
Which
there's a band did a cover for Anastasia. It was Left Outside Alone. It was Blind Channel. They covered it, and oh my god, like that! I get like dopamine hits from music. Like I'm always, you know, emotionally reactive with songs. Like that song, I played it over and over and over and over and over again. You know, one of those types. But their cover version was incredible as well. I love it. I love a good cover. I definitely do.
We also had a cover online, the Papa Roach one, Get Away with Murder.
Oh,
yeah.
That was like during the lockdown sessions for us, essentially. So
so everybody's cameras at home, just playing away, which is cool.
That's cool. Actually, did lockdown do you find that it helped? Because there's a lot of bands I actually find during lockdown it helped them to develop themselves more as bands as well, just from a writing perspective, because you were all together but via Zoom or whatever it may have been at the time, and they just seemed to find it more beneficial to focus on that rather, because you're obviously not out performing.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I was actually kind of the opposite with that. For me, I actually struggled with lockdown because we weren't out touring. Felt like we weren't sure what we were going to post on social media, what we had to say to people. We were trying to kind of write as well, but obviously it's a bit difficult when you're not all together as much. But we did do a couple of the cover sessions, and we were, by the time we actually tried to get some of them edited and put out, I think we actually only put the Papa Roach one out, didn't we? Because our previous band member was left with the job of editing a lot of it, and it just never really happened. So
and that's all I'll say about that.
That's all I'll say about that. I'm not going into that in too much detail, but yeah, like I think we definitely wanted to do a lot more, but we probably didn't do as much as what we could have done. Or what we should have done.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was constantly doing something. I was constantly on the phone to Iain as well. If you don't show up, your genius won't show up. And honestly, I turned into an absolute. I don't know. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was writing everything, country music, metal music. I was doing everything. I loved it.
Johnny joined about another 4 bands during lockdown.
Just because I wanted to keep going, but I absolutely loved it. And you know, those people like Sully Erna from Godsmack, who had like YouTube channels and stuff like that, which was cool. So they were going live every week, and there was a lot of this I was getting involved in. And when I was phoning Iain saying, if you don't turn up, your genius won't turn up, that was a direct quote from something Sully Erna had said as well. He says he was contacting his band members and stuff like that because they were also kind of down in the dumps and didn't want to do nothing, and you know, he was kind of trying to be motivating. So I tried to do that as much as possible. We was just doing DDP yoga, writing country music, writing metal music, on the phone to everybody, try to get the gear in action. You know what I mean? But I loved it.
It definitely worked. That's where Resurrected came from.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, I was supposed to be working. I was recording riffs.
I love to hear that. Yeah. The other thing that I have found actually, because I do a lot of work for brand new bands starting out, a lot of them follow me and they send me DMs to ask bands like you guys who are doing well, just questions really, right? And one of them is about the songwriting process. And I guess it's maybe helpful for them and maybe they can pick up tips for what works for you that maybe may help them. And also fans like to know this too. They like to know how it goes from a wee idea in the head right through to the actual finished song that they hear. So do you guys have a particular songwriting process or does it vary depending on the songs?
I think it's kind of dependent on the songs. Like I'm kind of the newest member in the band. I've only been in the band like for 3 years now.
He's the oldest.
All right, yeah. Sorry, okay. Aye, very good. I think since I've come in the band, I think the dynamic's probably changed a wee bit from the way it used to be. Because I think like Iain used to write a lot of the stuff pretty much on his own, but me and Iain, we clicked right away when I joined the band writing wise. We've got a lot of very similar influences, but we've also got a lot of influences like away from that, where I'll go the heavier side and Iain might go the more melodic side. But we managed to bring them together to make something. It's like I think it kind of changed the sound that we're going. Like Invincible, I think it's a great kind of idea of that of where the kind of direction we're going. So I like, but we'll have songs that I'll maybe bring in full songs, and Iain will bring in full songs as well, and then we'll all collaborate and within the room together. So it's never like just one person. It's always the sum of everybody. At the end of the day, it's the sum of everybody. Because Gary, I could never write a bass line like Gary would write a bass line. So
on a bridge,
aye, Bridge Master G, aye. So we just leave we'll just leave their parts to them. We'll get an idea and we'll go, this is what we've got, but obviously put what you want on top of it.
Yeah, a lot of the times when the way it used to be is Iain would have these ideas of, you know, you put in an intro, a verse, and then a chorus, and then the song would just kind of make itself up after that. It'd get sent over, and when it comes to me writing vocal melodies or writing lyrics or whatever, I'll literally just put the headphones on, turn the music up, as full as possible and pull out my phone and press record. So there's a lot of my face just on my phone, and I'll just say what comes to me. So a lot is just and it makes sometimes a cool melody. You know what I mean? I just do what comes to me naturally, and then a lot of times I'll just put words to the noises or the melody that I've created, and it seems to work. And then Gary will come in with an absolute banging bridge, and
that's it.
Boom.
but our songwriting process was that for a long, long time. Iain used to kid on he was working and just go in and write riffs. And
I love that.
Yeah.
Rebels. Speaking of that, actually, have any of you guys, because I've spoke to a few, and there was actually I think it was a guitar player, and he said that a riff randomly came to him, and he said it was an insane riff. He did not want to forget it, but it literally at the time in a wedding ceremony. It was actually happening, and he was best man, and he was standing on the stage. I don't know what the word is. Anyway, he was standing there, and the riff just came straight into his head, and he had to hum that in his head the whole time to try to not forget it. Has that ever happened to you where it's like come somewhere inconvenient?
I get it all the time at work. I'm a postman, so I'm out and about, and I'm just constantly walking about the streets singing in my voice notes. I think
Love
people think
that.
I'm mental. I'm just walking about singing riffs. Majority of the time they're absolutely rotten. I get home and I can't play them. Well, they're just absolutely terrible. But I think if something comes in your head, you need to get it down in some way, shape, or form. Because if you just try and remember it, it's never going to happen ever.
Yeah, grow arms and legs. The amount of voice notes I've had for Iain in the past, just going, I need to tell you this, and all you hear is traffic and all that. He's walking along the streets. It's like just doom, 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 and that was the voice note. That's literally what it was.
I had that myself once. It used to happen quite a lot when I was trying to fall asleep, and like 1 o'clock in the morning, I would just disappear into the kitchen, and I'd be in the kitchen, and you're trying to be quite quiet because everyone in the house is sleeping. And it's this like really muted voice note where you're just like Johnny said, you're like, and it sounds ridiculous, but yeah, I mean, I did it with Greig and the guys the other day. I sent them like a drum beat via video, and I was like, oh, I had this drum beat in my head, and I don't typically really write around drum beats, really, but I'd heard the sort of drum beat stroke guitar riff in my head, and I sent the guys the video of just me playing the beat, and was like, come up with a riff for this. And like just tried to write, and we've actually been writing around it recently. So it's like just kind of now a product of every one of us. It's just a voice note, effectively.
What he didn't say is it sounded like
drummer language.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. And I suppose the golden rule is don't tell yourself that you will remember it, because you won't.
Oh God, no, definitely not. The other thing as well is like just try and write as much as possible. Like you need to get 100 rotten riffs out to get one great one. You always like the way I get told by somebody to say write for the bin, because if you get too precious about them and you try and keep riffs, they might be crap. So there's absolutely no point. So just write for the bin, and then an absolute belter will suddenly appear out of nowhere, and you'll be like, there's a one, and you concentrate on that from there on in.
If you don't show up, your genius won't show up.
Yeah, right, Johnny.
There you go.
Put that on a t-shirt. Put that one on a t-shirt for sure. Oh, no, that's really, really good to know, and actually that will help the kids starting out as well. But what I want to do as well is just get a quick backstory on the very start of the band. Like, how did it begin? I love the origin stories for bands. Just how did the universe bring you all together to get you to where you are even now? And I know, Greig, you're the newest member, but how did it all begin?
I don't know if we've got time for this full story.
we've had more lineups in the Sugar Babes, as he usually says. Let's keep going for a while.
Honestly, we are worse than Foo Fighters would sound cooler, but Sugar Babes is just funny.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I was in a band previously that I played the drums in, and I had a few riffs basically. I've played the guitar for as long as I've played the drums. It's just drums has always been my first instrument. I just played the guitar for that fun, and I had a few song ideas, a few riffs basically that I really wanted to jam. And Johnny was friends with the band, everyone in the band that we played with. Also, we'd actually played a few shows with one of Gary's previous bands, And I say this all the time, but when we played that show, I like literally was like, I want to be in a band with that bass player. Like, I genuinely at the time was like, loved
You
everything
do.
about him.
You say it all the
I
time.
say it all the time. I loved everything about him on stage. I loved his
Mm.
whole vibe, his whole aura, and his playing as well. And I was like, I need to be in a band with him. So
Shame we didn't think that back, eh?
I know, that's true. Took a while, a bit of convincing. But long story short, I started a side project with no one but Johnny. It was just a couple of pals jamming some songs.
Mm.
And I knew Johnny sang at the time, but I'd only known he sang covers. And he approached me and was like, I seen you're looking for somebody to sing on your songs that you've got. And I was like, cool. That's because somebody that can sing is different from somebody that can write music and write melodies. And, you know, loads of people can sing, but writing lyrics and writing melodies is a different story. And I didn't know that he could do that. And he wrote Worlds Collide. I sent him the demo for Worlds Collide, and I was like blown away by it. So then a good few member and lineup changes later, Gary joined the band, and then another good few lineup changes later, Greig joined the band, and it's probably the best lineup. Well, probably it's the best lineup it's ever been. It's the best vibe. It's why there's only really 4 years now, because there's always been 5. But we kind of just thought.
Greg's too good to go with somebody else. His ego's too big.
We kind of just thought, what's the point in, you know, ruining the overall vibe? Because you're never trying to just replace a guitarist or a bass player or a drummer or a singer. You're trying to find. It sounds cheesy, but you're trying to find a new best mate. You're trying to find a new friend as well as a musician. So you need to get on with the person. So that's kind of basically. It came from a jam with friends and grew arms and legs.
Love that. And actually, I'm going to delve a wee bit further into that in a moment, but we're going to play another song. And this time, we're going with Invincible. So again, another awesome song, still blown away by you guys. And for that song in particular, can you tell me, did you face challenges with it, or was it a smooth sailing one?
In the writing process?
I think that was probably one of the ones that came. Iain pretty much wrote 99% of that himself. I think there was like a couple of wee things, and it was one of those songs that he just said at the chat, and he went, I've been sitting working on this, and the minute it came in, every one of us went, that's a new single. Straight away, that's a new single. It just clicked like that. We all just knew it. So there's a couple of wee changes here and there, but 90-95% of it was already done by Iain.
It's funny, vocally as well, I think that was one of the ones that, so way different tracks, I'll go through like a lot of different vocals. I'll come in and go, this is a vocal, and then I'll change it, and then I'll change it again. But I think Invincible's one of the ones, the first thing that I did, first thing that we wrote, that was it. It just worked. It just worked so well. You know what I mean? It all just came together. Because there's a lot of things where you're like, you know, that song's not really a single, is it? Let's make it better. But that song, Greig says, instantly, it was just, that's definitely single material.
Still, I guess Johnny's best vocal performance on anything he's done so far.
Thank you very much. I don't know if that's a compliment or...
No, everything else.
The rest of your stuff's rotten.
No, not at all. I'm just thinking it's the best. I know you struggled a wee bit with the middle part, but all in all, it's an absolute belter, the vocal-wise.
Yeah.
Great tune. Brilliant song. Something else that I've noticed as well is with the new bands and the pressure that they feel to have everything perfect right now, so there's no room for evolving. And like your backstory for the band is the perfect example of how, you know, things evolve, things change, and you can't control it that way for it to be perfect immediately, because they do feel like, they've DM'd me and they've said they feel that they have to have the band's aesthetic, the band's songs, line up, everything absolutely perfect straight away. There's no room for anything else. But like, I think you guys are literally the example of, no, that's not the case, and you can, and you always will evolve. Is there anything else that you can add to that for these kids, just to keep them hopeful and not giving up?
Nobody.
It's funny. It's so cool that I would say, to me, it's funny that we definitely come across that way, because I would say me and Johnny are probably the problem childs of that very issue.
That's why it's still all else to his original.
Yeah, that's why I kind of stayed silent and didn't go to answer that question. No, I think we've definitely have learned a lot over the years. You know, we've definitely learned loads, and there is times where, as much as you don't want to, you've got this grand idea and the direction you want to go, and you need to all work together. And we literally developed. I think it was Gary. In fact, I know it was Gary. It was Gary. I don't know if you've ever watched Sons of Anarchy, but Gary was like that one day, like listening, because we weren't getting anywhere. We would spend, well, to give you an idea, we took 2 months to decide on whether we would have a blue T-shirt or a red T-shirt previously, because we just discussed it so in depth. So yeah, that gives you a sort of idea of what
we went with white.
Previously. Gary one day said that why don't we start like taking it to church kind of thing, like we do in Sons of Anarchy, if you've ever watched it. So basically just have both, you know, and we need to just sort of narrow it down really quickly and listen to each other and realise that, you know, sometimes you're going to get your way, sometimes you're not. And if everybody just sort of accepts that, then you'll move forward quicker, because at 100% is the reason you just, it sounds so obvious, but it's the sole reason you just don't get anything done.
Yeah.
You just spend so much time debating on stuff that, you know, it's a total, you know, killer of any progression whatsoever. So yeah, try not to stress about the little things too much, I would say. And you know, focus on the right things, but don't stress about, you can't control every individual element.
Yeah, because you're so close to it as well, you automatically overthink it. I overthink everything anyway. But when it comes to this, it's everybody kind of overthinks it because they're too close. They want it to be, as you said, they want it to be perfect, they want it to be right, whatever else. But realistically, what we've found out, especially on things like TikTok and that, if you're not doing anything, nobody knows who you are. Out there, you know, you need to build that up, whether you're just sitting on a bus or on a train filming yourself, putting something out there where you're tracking tappy it or whatever, you know. And we've, as Iain says there, the colour of the t-shirt and stuff like, we've went through different almost costume changes, I suppose. You know, where we had the shirts with the 6 year silence on them, and you know, we had we were all wearing white, whether it be white wristbands, white shorts, white you know, we all had, so we've all went through different things to try and make it perfect, I suppose. And again, my idea was, you know, I want everything. I want pyrotechnics. I want this. I want the big stage show. We want everything, and we're playing in venues with 150 people or whatever. You know what I mean? So it was hard to do it, although I did have some fun with some confetti cannons and stuff like that. But you need to think bigger and better. You know what I mean? But you know, don't stress about, as easy as the little things. Just put it out. You know what I mean? Once you start playing things more and start gigging it, things may change as well when it comes to like songwriting kind of stuff and whatever else. But you know, if you're not actually doing it, then nobody knows that you're there. So just get it done.
Yeah, and have fun above all else.
That's it. I think sometimes also, like, if you try to be too much of a perfectionist, takes away the personality from stuff. It makes things pure sterile, because you're trying to be a perfectionist and you take all your own personality out of it, because it's not the way you think everybody would want to hear it or want to be or see. If you're just not being yourself, just be yourself. I think more people will come to that than some perfect person that you think they want to see. There's no personality there.
Yeah. Which is fun, actually, now that you're saying that, because people come to see us now when it's just the 40s. They're like, whoa, the last time I see you, there was 5 people there and it was great. But with the 40s, you see more of your personality come to life as well. I think the fact that Gary's got his own side of the stage and he's actually getting some monitors these days, you know, it's opened him up, because Gary's in an interview and Gary would never do an interview. Never. You know what I mean? So it's kind of opened him up as well.
One in like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
Ever done? No.
Again, our stage show live, you can see it. You can see us having fun and opening up a bit more, which is brilliant. And again, a lot of people have actually come up and said that to us, which is cool.
Oh, that's awesome. And actually, I'm gonna have a wee bit of fun with you now. This is one of my favorite questions to ask bands. And it's if you could take 6 year silence to any decade to perform, would you go back in time, or would you take a risk and go forward in time, and bear in mind that you can only use the technology of that decade that you go to? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Oh,
I would go back about 10 years, but I would put us like in America or in Europe, and I think we would just do so much better than what we're doing currently. Not that we're doing bad, but I just think we are quite Americanized sounding, and I think, or we've got elements of that, and I think being a wee bit closer to that side of the water. But when bands that we're influenced by and that are like at more of their peak, and then we're involved in that scene a little bit more, I think it would help us. So I'd say we'd go back.
I've got to agree with that, to be fair, in all premises, because realistically our sound does fit back there with, I suppose bands like Godsmack, Creed, even a bit further back as well, which is cool. I think the fear for me going forward and only having the technology you've got the new is the fact that everything will be AI and everything will be perfect in the future. You know what I mean? Whereas if we went back the way, then I think our sound would, especially in America, a lot of your TikTok follow the new is in America, which is amazing. But if we were 10 years ago in America, we'd probably been Tony Hawk skateboarding, you know what I mean? But yeah, I agree with Gary.
I'm going to agree with both them, man. I'd definitely go back. I think go back because I wouldn't be.
That's just because you'd be younger.
That's the only reason. I wouldn't be this old. I wouldn't hurt as much. No, I do like our sound is. I think it's definitely very much stemmed in like old like new metal and kind of stuff like that. We've got a lot of that vibe. I just think back then we find it hard sometimes. Like because I think just because of the sound we have, like it's not a pure modern sound. I think we've got a good modern elements to it, but I think back then definitely we would fit in a bit better than what it is now.
Iain,
you all right?
Aye, sorry, I froze there. It's freezing a little bit. Apologies.
you're all right.
Can you hear me?
Got you back.
Yeah. I would go back as well, to be honest with you. Look, I think there's definitely pros and cons to both. I think if you are willing to do the work nowadays, it could be made easier to get noticed in a sense in terms of like your social media. And I would be the same as Gary that, I would go back about, say about 10 years roughly, because social media was starting to just become a thing like MySpace and all that. And if I could go back with the knowledge that I've got now in terms of things you can do online, YouTube just coming out, MySpace, any other social media platforms like that, I would go back and do the things that we are doing now on those platforms in terms of videos, all the stuff that people sort of love to watch behind the scenes and footage, and and I think in terms of playing live as well, it's a lot easier to get shows and support slots, and it's a lot harder. We used to be able to just message promoters and say that we wanted to play shows with bands that were touring, and if you were good enough to get them. But bands nowadays are having to bring everyone with them. That's the thing.
That initially got the Alter Bridge tour, wasn't it, through like MySpace or something like that, wasn't it?
I through forums, a website.
I know it's got so much more difficult. And then here in Ireland, bands here, they have that added, expense of the ferry to get over even to anywhere else before they can even start. So it's definitely got harder. But gotta keep on going, don't we? Gotta keep fighting.
That's it.
You do it if you love it.
Never give up. That's what I always say. But look, another one of my favorite fun questions is basically your first ever performance that you did on stage in front of people that made you go either, this is definitely what I want to do. I want to be performing. I need to do this. For me, the reason this fascinates me is I would not get up on a stage. No, I was forced as a kid to go to dancing, pushed onto the stage to dance and running off crying. I hate it. But I'm always curious as to why someone chooses to want to get up on stage and perform. So if you can remember your first time, maybe you were 5, maybe you were a teenager, and yeah, let me know the wee story. And who wants to go first?
Greg's your further back to go, you want to?
It takes me longer to remember then. It's not going to stop this, is it? I think, like, I don't know. I can't. The first time I remember actually being on a stage to play was in high school, like my first band, and we kind of played the kind of school talent show thing. And we went up and started playing Davidian, and the school were just like, what's going on? Started playing Machine Head songs in front of primary ones, like first years and all this. But I remember just from years and years of watching just live gigs, especially like the Guns N' Roses at Tokyo like gigs, and just watching it. I was like, I always wanted to do that. And the minute I had a kind of chance to get a band together, that was the first time we were like, is there any bands that want to do the talent contest? And we were like, I will do it. And then we just went up there. We wrote some horrible cheesy blues thing, and then started playing Davidian. So it was great. And ever since then, it's to me still one of my favourite things about being a band. Not having to put up with them all the time, that's still a good thing. But I just being on stage is just. I'm not an egotistical person, I don't think, but I get it when I'm on stage. Johnny, I saw that face. But on stage, I think it's just you can just let go. I feel like you can just be somebody completely different if you want to be, and then you come on stage. As long as you're off stage and you're still cool, and you can do what you want on stage and have a laugh and be bigger than life. Do you know what I mean? I love it. I absolutely love it.
Love that. Who wants to go next?
Take it for the silence. I might as well go next then. So the first time I was ever on stage was, so there was an old Glasgow band years ago. I must have been 9 or something. And they were kind of taking off. They were doing well. There was like a BBC documentary and stuff like that about them. The band called Scheme. They didn't really do well because they fell into drugs and whatever else. It was obviously growing up in Glasgow at the time, you know what I mean? But they played a few massive shows and then came back and played a pub in the town called the Rabbie Burns. This place is shut down. I think it's the old where people used to be, but it was in there and it was open. It was a Sunday afternoon. We went along to see them. There was like maybe like 10 of us in there watching them live, and they did like a break, and as soon as they stopped, the singer says, "It's too warm up here, bit knackered, we're going to take a 15-minute break." And I'm like, what's that all about? I came here to listen to songs, no, he's sitting, you know what I mean? I'm only 9. The guy is thinking, he's like, you want to come up and sing? And I'm like, cool. So I sung one of their songs with them. It was absolutely rotten. Absolutely rotten. I couldn't even remember half the words. I repeated the first verse, and it was my first time ever using a monitor. So I tried to shout louder because the monitor was so loud. I didn't understand the whole thing at all. And then I was like, this is cool. This is really cool. And then when I was 10, I was actually an Elvis impersonator. I wanted to be Elvis, so I dressed up as Elvis and done my school shows, done a couple of gigs in the Mecca Bingo as Elvis. So I wanted to be Elvis, which was amazing. I used to dance around my bedroom. We had old blue tracksuit bottoms on with white lines down the side of them, and I thought it was Freddie Mercury. Had drew a moustache in myself and everything. Got a hairbrush, tied it around a pole, was jotting about kidding on as Freddie Mercury. And realistically, that whole part of my life, I'm like, I need to be on stage. I need to be an entertainer of some sort. I learned how to play guitar, and I'm still as good now as I was when I was 10. But, you know, I'm like, I need to do this. And then as I kind of got a bit older, I ended up in a band with a few school friends, and we were absolutely rotten. You know, the music was stinking. And I'm starting out with a big BC Rich Warlock playing almost pop music. But I'm like, this is what I want to do. And then, yeah, it's kind of grew arms and legs over the years. But
love it.
I don't really think you can beat a 10-year-old Elvis impersonator, can you?
You were a 10-year-old Britney Spears impersonator.
Yeah,
I'll get the mic.
I'll still get the mic.
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
I think my first experience was literally just a high school band that I was in. A couple of guys that I went to high school with came in and found came in to get guitars while I was doing a drum lesson. And after it, they asked me if I wanted to join a band. And we literally started with the stereotype of one of them had a guitar, one of them could sing, and I was playing pots and pans in his bedroom. And then when we first done our first gig, we arranged a gig in a local community hall where our parents paid for the hire of the hall, and we sold tickets to all our school friends, and we had to probably give half the ticket money back for all the damages to the building after the gigs. And we sold it out, and we thought we were total rock stars, and it was all doing Blink-182 covers mixed in with stereophonics, and I think like one of our own songs, which like Johnny said was awful. Somebody broke the toilet. We never let us hire the hall again. So it was pretty funny. But I just remember thinking, I think I was about 14 at the time, and I've been in a band like ever since. So I love it. Just wouldn't know what to do if I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
Almost like feeling like somebody else, and it's like a total of getting to be like somebody else. And for me, it's like a total confidence thing. Like, obviously, not so much to the guys here, but I'm like quite a shy person. So much to the point that like I can't say hi to like customer service or my neighbour, but I can get on stage in front of like 15,000 people and like no blink an eye. And it's always been like a confidence thing to me. So like my first gig was like 14, and it was in the pub McSorley's like in town. And obviously, again, confidence, like no thinking I would be able to do it. And then I remember playing, and like 2 songs in, people actually got up and started dancing. And see, just like the feeling you get from being able to create that for somebody, like just solidified for me, like I want to do this. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you're nailing it. Killing it. Right, so moving on. Speaking of performing, there are things that can go wrong and do go wrong on stage when you're doing a show. And for the new bands that are listening and watching, what are the common things that can go wrong on stage that you can just kind of cover up quite easily, that might help these kids before they even start going out?
String breaks, I think, is an obvious one. Always have a backup guitar. Because the only time I didn't have a backup guitar, like I broke my string, I think it was like literally the first hit of the first song.
That was the quickest string change I've ever seen in my life.
It was. I had to be like, but luckily at the time, that's when we had another guitar player, so I kind of got away with it a bit more. Like if it was just me now, it would have been horrendous. But I'll have a backup guitar. You need to have a backup guitar because like string breaks are horrendous.
Or see, like when you're on stage and people try to push into you and knock your wireless pack off. There it goes down. But that, like, mistakes happen. Like, there's no point getting caught up about it. You just pick back up.
There's definitely a few things. There's definitely a few things you could stop from happening. For instance, changing batteries and anything that needs a battery. The last thing you want to do, again, wireless packs, the battery dies, or if you're using a wireless mic, which has happened quite a few times. I'm standing at the side of the stage, changing a battery during the guitar solo or whatever, you know what I mean? But definitely change it if you want to have stuff that's, that can be prevented. Definitely change your batteries. It's definitely the main one.
I mean, I would literally say the simplest, like a simple thing to do is rehearse in the studio everything you think you're going to do on stage. Because we do that more now than we ever used to. And I've been in loads of bands where you just go through the song. You're not really rehearsing your live show. You're not rehearsing what you're going to do, what you're going to say on stage. And I think the more parts of it you rehearse, the less likely something is going to go wrong. But then at the same time, I think probably the biggest takeaway is I would say is just don't panic. I think a lot of times if you panic and think that something, we rehearse for our last tour, and we run like a I have a sample pad that just does some synth stuff in the background of the music, and I broke my own rule really, where in the studio I plugged directly into that, and on the very first show of the tour, I used a headphone monitor that I never ever used, and all of a sudden I couldn't hear anything, and right away I just knew like, oh, I've made a mistake here, because and it's like a case of don't panic, you figure it out on stage as you go, but the more you panic, the worse it's going to get. So just go on it really, and try and remain as professional as you can.
Right, just don't stop. That's like, unless there's nothing you can do, like somebody's dropped in or something like that. Like just carry on. Just keep going. Just like the minute you stop, like halfway through a song, it just looks so unprofessional. If you can keep going, keep going.
That actually lends itself to a funny tour story, and I don't know if that's why John's just laughing, because we were on tour last year, and Johnny, where was it we were playing? Was it Norwich?
Sheffield?
No, it wasn't Sheffield. It was
Norwich.
it was one. It was that wee one with the ramp, like from the backstage down. I think it was Norwich. Aye.
We were playing a show, and it was really, really hot. Like the whole venue was roasting. It was roasting outside, and sometimes I'm a bit of the sort of sensible party pooper, and Johnny and Greig like the odd drink, shall we say, refreshment, and we were about to go on stage, and Johnny was feeling the heat, and he said to everybody, he turns around and says to me, Iain, tell Greig what happens if I collapse on stage. And I was like, oh, we just keep playing. It was just like, and Greig was like, what? And I was like, just keep playing. He's like, he'll eventually get up. And,
but nobody said to me how long it eventually is, because it was like the 3 songs in and he's still not got up. Can we start panicking?
Give him a kick.
Luckily, it's never happened to us yet. Like, but it was kind of like, and then it was like, open the bottle of Jack, and I was like, do you not think you should maybe just drink water then? Like, shut up. Okay, never mind.
Here, have you ever had a super last minute show today? Because like if you're saying there that regular rehearsing, practicing is absolutely necessary. I think it was somebody, they said that they had a show they were told on the Friday, but the show was on the Sunday. Has that ever happened to you guys? Where you've had like a super last minute show to do? Is that common?
No, I don't think it's happened with us, no.
I've had it with one of my old bands, but never had it in this band.
I think I have experienced it in other bands, but I don't think I've had it happen.
You done it with Cedar? Was it Cedar? Was the last one?
Oh yeah, aye, yeah. Yeah,
we did get asked to do support Bloodywood, but that was like 2 weeks after I joined the band, and it was like the show was in like 2 days or something like that, and I was like, gutted. That would have been good.
That would have terrified me though, that like having to do it that quickly. Like I'd be like, no. All right, well look, it's time for another song, and this time we're going with My Enemy.
I can't go on like this. You took it all. There's nothing left for me.
Another great song. Can you guys tell me what is your favorite thing about that song? Either performing, recording, writing, whatever it may be from the song.
I'm going to go
when it kicks in.
My favourite part about that song was its original title.
Ooh.
We always have really funny titles, most of which I can't say on here, but that one I can. That one was called Too Many Bubbles. And
that's right.
It stems from a story Johnny told us about a whole thing about too many bubbles in a jacuzzi, basically. And it was really hilarious. And when I wrote that riff, I just named it that because I just couldn't stop thinking about him sitting, too many bubbles, too many bubbles, too many bubbles. And I love the song right enough. I love the bounce to it, but yeah, that's probably my favourite part about that.
I love that. I love wee stories like that. So cool.
My favourite part's probably just, I think I'm with Johnny, just because it's got quite a long intro, and then when it kicks in, it's just got the big bouncy riff. There's just so much energy to it. So
especially live.
Aye, it's really good live, like, and I really like the middle bit as well. The kind of build up in the middle bit, kind of that middle riff. That's cracking. You can see people really going for it at that point.
Mm. Would that be the one that you guys would prefer to perform live, or is there one like that stands out the most for a live performance?
Monster.
Aye.
Yes.
I think it's just we always kind of finish with that just because it's so high energy, and we always get the crowd to crouch down and get them to jump up when it kicks in. So it's all watching the whole room do that. And to be fair, we've been pretty lucky. We've normally got about 95% of the room doing it for us, unless they're in a wheelchair and Johnny points them out.
She was already sitting down.
But aye, Monsters, great, so good live.
No, we're actually playing out with that one too. So there you go. Johnny, I want to talk to you about your vocals. They are insane. We cannot not talk about them. So first of all, super talent. Absolutely love your vocals. And what I'm always fascinated about by many great vocalists actually that I've spoken to over the years is that most of them did not actually start out to want to be the front man or the vocalist of a band. They wanted to be something else in the band instead. So is that similar for you, or did you like always knew that you wanted to be the singer?
I always knew I wanted to be Elvis. Although, as I said, growing up, I started playing guitar, and I was playing guitar in a band, so I wasn't really the singer in the band. We had two female singers, so that kind of, I was standing in the background, and we actually went to cover a Scottish Tap song, and it just wasn't working with him singing it. And I was sitting picking it out, and I started singing it, and like, you should just sing this. And ever since then, I'd done open mic nights and stuff like that. So I went a big break of not actually being in bands. I was in a Commitments tribute thing as well for a while, and then I went a big long break of not actually being in bands. And me and Gary at the time worked in the Cat House in Glasgow, and we started an open mic night. So it was just me and one of my friends, and actually one of the guys for one of my other bands, just sitting with acoustic guitars, singing songs, just singing a mixture of hundreds of different songs, you know what I mean? But it wasn't until obviously Iain said about Uproar, because that's obviously what we were called at the time. And then, well, he put up a track, and I'm like, let's do it. And actually, the first gig we did with Uproar was the first time I'm like, actually, it was the first gig with Titan Breed I did, I think. It was one of the two. I can't really remember, but it's like I'm like, this is kind of what I want to do. You know what I mean? At the time, I still wasn't sure. I liked singing, I liked entertaining. I just like being the funny, stupid guy in the room at times, you know what I mean? But yeah, once I started gigging with these bands, I'm like, there's nothing else I want to do. And I've quit jobs just to play a gig, and I'll do it 100 times over because that's what I want to do, you know what I mean?
I like to hear that. Do you have any tips then for new kids that are starting out in their singing, to help them develop, or even just to test the boundaries of their vocals? Like, is there tips or tricks to do that without damaging your vocal that you've found over the years?
But actually, there's a lot of things now that you have what we didn't have years ago. Again, YouTube's amazing for it, you know what I mean? Because you get people like Melissa Cross. If you want to sing, heavy vocals and it's hurting, when I started doing that, I'm like, well, I need to man up and just go through the pain. You know what I mean? And realistically, that's how it was in my head. Just do it, just get it done. The pain will go away. But the more you do it, the more you start to find different techniques. And especially people like Melissa Cross, she'll show you how to do that without it actually hurting. So if you're going to go do it, research it, because there's a lot of people on YouTube these days that can show you actually how to do it and do it professionally. You know what I mean? Which is a great help. I've already learned by mistakes. You know what I mean? But actually, it's funny because I'm going to go off on a tangent a wee bit, but I had to really learn how to do it again, because just before the lockdown, I think it was the January or something, I actually get my tonsils removed. So once the healing process started, I had a lot of speech issues. Like I there's a lot of words I kept doing like that, and it was weird. I didn't understand why, and I started singing, and there was no power, there was nothing there, and it was horrible. Honestly, it was absolutely devastating. But over the months and whatever else, teaching myself, just singing. Me and my friend Pete, the other band, we went in the studio a few times just with acoustics and started singing and try to build up that voice again. But I had to really learn from scratch, and there's a lot of times that I couldn't actually scream, and I couldn't do it. And actually, there was a song, I think it was Fire Swans or something like that. They do there's a bit of throat singing in it. And one day I'm driving up north, and I'm like, oh my God, I can do that throat singing. And it kind of just stems from there now. When I go to scream, or if I go to warm up, they'll hear me on the mic, doing a bit of the throat singing, and it warms up my throat, and it helps me scream, and it builds up the muscles in my throat, which at the time when I had tonsils I couldn't do, which was strange. But yeah, there's a lot out there these days that can definitely help you do it correctly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there whose voices have broke over the years, like Matt Shadows for Avenged Sevenfold. His voice kept going. I'm sure he ended up having to get surgery on his voice as well. But there's a lot of people out there that can show you how to do it correctly. So
great, very, very helpful. I'm sure that's definitely going to help someone. So I have a hard question for you guys now, and most musicians have at least one, and that is the song that when you're going to be performing live is not that you dread it, you're just a little bit anxious about it. Maybe it has like a timing thing or a riff that's a bit more difficult, or too many vocals in the song. But like, do each of you have one like that you do tend to? And interestingly, will it be the same song for everyone?
I've definitely got one, because when I joined I pretty much joined the band. I think like Iain and that were like, do what you want with the solos, it's absolutely fine. But Forever Burning solo has to be the same solo. And I'm like, in my head anyway, is like, I'll do the solos the way they were done anyway. I don't want to change them, because that's the way people expect to hear them. But because of that, like on the audition of that, nailed it. Coming up live now, and every single time I'll go, I'm going to mock this up. And it's that one song. I get that solo and I break out of sweat. It could be the last song we played, and I've not been sweating all night, and we get to that song, and I'll be like, oh no, this solo again. And I don't know, I think it was like the first leg, the first two shows, the first leg of the two we did this year, I made a complete bucket. It's literally one note that I forget what it is. It's between two different frets, and I'm like, is it that one or is it that one? And it's a 50-50 shot, and I'll get it wrong 50% of the time.
Oh gosh.
I think the only one for me that we still play more often than not is probably Monster. It's quite a energetic song from start to finish to play, and there's a lot happening in it. And I think it's usually, especially if it's a one-off gig like we're doing, and we normally end with it. If it's a half an hour set or an hour set, I'm already gassed by that point. So it's like you kind of laugh at everything you have left to get you going through it. Also, the only thing I would say is that when we're touring, you get what I kind of like to call match fit. So by about 2 or 3 gigs in, you start to just not even think about it, and you just all sort of cohesively play, and you can feel like they say about like football teams, you start to just bounce off each other and react to things. I don't feel it as much when we're into it, but there's definitely the first couple of shows, the time we get to that point, I'm like, oh, because I usually my right leg will like start to cramp during it, and I'm kind of back there, and everybody just thinks I'm having a blast, but I'm like in agony. I'm just like,
if you listen closely, you can hear it coming through his mic. It's funny. I think Monster is the same with me. As much as it's my favourite to play live, I absolutely love it. The fact that get everybody doing and everybody jumping, and I always film that bit as well. It's amazing, but it's got the highest choruses that I sing. So it is at the very end of the show, and it's the highest song to sing, especially right at the end, because I hold the a big high note right at the end, and sometimes I can do it, but sometimes it just it doesn't work. So I'll not do it, but I can feel it. You know, the second chorus is always the one I'm a bit worried about. The first chorus usually goes fine, and then the second chorus I'm like, oh my god. But I won't try and reach it if I can. I'll just bring it down and do a wee melody underneath it, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think Monster, as much as I say it's my favourite, it's one of the ones that I worry about.
Yeah.
As it's Monster, even for me, I've obviously got songs that I don't like, and they'll try to put them in the set list, and I'm like, no happening. But
Nickelback.
Monster, or Nickelback, and Fight Song. I'm not a huge fan of the Fight Song. But I think for me, Monster's always a weird one because I'll play 90% of the set with my fingers, but then for Monster I use a plectrum, and it seems to bring on like hand fatigue like so much that at certain points I'll turn around and I'll look at Iain and it looks like I'm rocking out with Iain, but really I'm just pulling like a pain face.
We're both agony.
It's just nobody can see me doing it.
Oh,
It's funny, Iain always gets that. Even halfway through the stage, I'll just turn around to Iain and put my hand up and just like,
I don't know what anyone's saying ever.
Yeah.
well, thanks so much for sharing that, actually, because that's great too for the new band starting night. You know, it shows them that, you know, it happens. There's always at
100%
least
it
one
happens.
song. All right, well, look, we're going to play another song, and that is Unbroken. Great riffs, and we're all trying not to say anything there, so that was a fun game. Okay, so for this song in particular, were there many challenges when recording it?
I'm
yes.
not taking that one.
The biggest one. So when recording that EP,
Mhm.
we had a couple of really good songs like Resurrected, In Due Time, Monster, but there was another two that vocally wasn't really 100% written. The vocal from Unbroken came from Gary. The initial idea for it, which kind of started growing arms and legs between us, and we end up, I think me, Gary, and Iain end up having a chat to the side, talking about just different melodies and people just putting in voice notes and different lyric ideas and whatever else. But when I personally went to record it, it still wasn't actually finished. I don't think we'd actually played it in the studio as a full band with the full vocals in it and stuff like that. And yeah, Vita Nova was the other one, but again, I think they changed so many times as well, so there wasn't much confidence personally behind them, you know what I mean? But yeah, they weren't really fully written, so it wasn't 100% like the other tracks. The other tracks was very, very confident with me. As I said, Resurrected, In Due Time, Monster, you know, very confident with Aim. But when I went up to record, I was like, let's just try it, I suppose. You know what I mean? But
The funny thing is as well is that, you know, like Johnny says, I think we're all the same there, where we weren't 100% confident about them, and still to this day we're all a bit like, they're not like our favourites as such. But I remember when we put the actual EP out, the amount of like sort of feedback we got from people that were like, oh, Vita Nova and Unbroken, and we were like, what? Like,
are you serious?
no, Resurrected is Monster. That. So we're kind of like, all right, okay. So sometimes it just, I suppose, it shows you that, you know, what we think is really good is not always necessarily what, you know, fans are going to love. But and they were one of those challenges where some songs just fall together and some songs are kind of.
I think it's very much because we're such a. I think we kind of look at ourselves as more of a live band than a recorded band, and those songs for us just didn't work live at all. So there's a kind of disconnect with them, because it's like when it comes to putting a set, it's like, right, we know we can ditch those two. So there's a kind of disconnect with them. But I mean, with those songs, like most of it was already written by the time I joined the band anyway. So I was just told what to play at the time. I was like, but you could tell it's like between them and the other songs, you could tell they were very much like, we've got these 3 songs and then we've got these 2 songs, and it was like, all right, you're excited about them, but you're not too sure about these 2. I think they came out really well, but they're definitely more a recorded song than they are a live song.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we definitely all love like majority of it, like, and I think it's definitely one of those ones where, like Greg says, because there's so much excitement in the other songs. If anything, a massive positive thing from it is we still love the songs, but it's definitely a massive learning curve, because what we do now is we definitely do pre-production like situations where we're like, right, we write a lot, as Greg said. I tend to write a lot just at a desk with a guitar, and I'll program some drums for ideas for demos and stuff, and a lot of these tunes we'd never actually even played before we recorded them and sent them away to be, and then we started learning them effectively. It's a massive learning curve for us, like, you know, a good few years into. Recently we've been discussing, like, we've got these ideas, let's play them as a band, and like, see how they feel, like, if bits work, what bits don't work, because we've learned from that in the past, even this far on.
Aye, it's definitely like we're taking the look of, because we liked the other 3 songs so much and those was not, let's never put ourselves in that situation again and make it go, every single wee song we do, would we put it as a single? If not, then we don't use it. Every single song has to be single worthy. So that's why that's our aim now, making every single song a song or not stronger than the one before.
Yeah.
And that's actually that perfectionist kind of conversation we had the other day.
Exactly. But it's also great value too for these new bands. So that's like awesome. And look, unfortunately, we're going to have to bring this to a close because I'm having so much fun. But we're going to be playing out with Monster. But before I do, have you guys anything else coming up or that you're working on? So another single, tours, anything like that coming up?
We are actually working on a few tracks at the moment, which will hopefully be released as soon as possible. We also have a headline show in Glasgow on May 23rd of May, I believe, which is going to be really good because I absolutely love playing a hometown show, you know what I mean? But we've got a festival, stuff like that kind of stuff coming up. It actually hasn't been announced yet, so I can't say. But yeah, we could definitely get a few things coming up. We're looking at the moment as well of booking a tour with us and not supporting. So hopefully in the next few months we'll be announcing the fact that we are touring around the UK.
Exciting. And what are you guys most proud of on your 6-year silence journey so far?
Is that a question?
That's a good question.
Do you know, the Forever Burning, as Greg was talking about earlier on, is a song that kind of means a lot to me. As I say, it's most of your songs come from a mental health kind of stance, and the amount of people that came up and say to you, like in due time as well, and you know, today was one as well. People come up saying, "Oh my God, when you're singing that, I get a lump in my throat," or you know, I really feel the emotion in that song, or people contacted saying this song helped me. See, when you actually get people coming up to you who, you know, are influenced and helped, or, you know, what you're putting out there is actually making a big dent in their life. To me, that's probably the proudest part of just being a musician. And it's the proudest part of being in this band, because the songs mean a lot personally, lyrically, to myself. So when you've actually got people saying, I understand, that's honestly amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you know, I notice as well, like even listening to the songs, just that feeling of hope and comfort that the songs bring as well. Incredible. You know, I'm excited to see what comes next with you guys. But look, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, it's been amazing. And here it is, everybody. Monster.